Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
At Uber, every single driver is required to pass a thorough background check before they can start driving. That means any prospective driver goes through a multi-step screening process, checking for any impaired driving or criminal offenses. But the checks don't stop there. Every year, every Uber driver is background checked again, so the person picking you up today meets the same standards as the day they started.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Annual driver screenings from Uber. One more way Uber is putting safety at every turn. Learn more at uber.com/safety.
But out of that, a new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us.
Live, kind of from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, reporting from out in the field on this Black Friday. Things are crazier than I thought they'd be. Our regulars are out shopping, so today we're joined at the card table by Amy and Maggie from the popular ThinkerThemer YouTube channel to help us get the board games that will have our families giggling instead of groaning this holiday season. Stick around for not one, but two top 5 lists. First, games about money or economics. Second, the best games to play with friends or family, especially those black-hearted weirdos, the non-gamers. Oh yeah, and halfway through, you can count on me rolling in with my trivia question. And now a guy who's helping you play the game of life and win, it's Joe Saul-Sehy.
Well, thank you, Doug, and happy holiday weekend, Stackers, if you're in the United States. If you're anywhere else, happy Friday, right? Welcome to another episode of the Stacking Benjamin Show. I am Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter. This is a very special episode. I'm here. No OG. Doug knows that it's light duty for him today because today we're all about board games. A long time ago, what happened was we realized that very few people were listening to Money Talk on the day after Thanksgiving, and that's when I realized this needed to be a really special episode. Of course, if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know how much I love board games. My family decided when I was in 7th grade to no longer have a television, that we would just not get one. I remember pulling into this is an old guy story, but I remember pulling into the TV dealership, right? There's old guy right there. And my parents go in and leave the kids in the car with the window down. Another old guy moment that should not happen today and happened, I feel like, regularly then, and came out. And I think they just decided it was too expensive. And you know what happened? A love of all things games began. Our family began communicating better. My grades went up in school, and I began this love affair with just everything games. So this is now our annual board game episode and one of our most listened to episodes every year. So I'm super excited. If you're new to the family, welcome to Stacking Benjamins. This is a little bit different than usual, but we're going to give you 2 top 5 lists, as Doug said earlier. You know, though, before we get to the board games, there was some goodness I wanted to talk to you about first, Stackers. How about this? In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. I had a breakfast mentoring meeting yesterday with a young woman who was just amazing. She is graduating from college with a degree in wealth management, and she reached out hoping for some pointers. And listen, if somebody's in Texarkana and wants to go into this beautiful field of personal finance and helping people get their money together, that is incredible. But even more incredible is how she reached out, how she was trying to network. And I was having a discussion that finding the right person and avoiding the wrong person for a role, that's what can make or break an organization. And we just don't see that many qualified people. So how do you find them? Well, Indeed sponsored jobs is a boost whenever you need to find quality talent. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. You can stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. You'll match with quality candidates with Indeed's sponsored jobs. Get matched with and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Reach candidates who meet your specific criteria like skills, certifications, or location. It drives me crazy when I'm matched with all kinds of people who aren't a fit. I don't have that kind of time. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored job. And here's what's cool, Stackers. You're going to get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Stacking Benjamins by saying you heard about Indeed right here at Stacking Benjamins. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Wasn't that goodness? Maybe not board games, but a lot of fun. Let's get into it with Amy and Maggie from ThinkerThemer. Here we go. And I'm so happy that we finally got them here halfway across the world from us. Amy and Maggie from ThinkerThemer are here. How are you two?
We are so great. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, excited to be here.
Well, thank you for getting up early on a Saturday for me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. We often actually do a lot of board game content early in the morning before our day jobs, so it's not different for us. So yeah, thank you for staying up late.
Get the voice warmed up and going, and then we're good. Yeah.
Well, I would like to talk to you because a lot of people are interested in starting a side hustle, but that's another time. Maybe we'll have you back and talk about this side gig and creating this channel that's gone really, really well. We told people in the open about how Board Game Geek just did a kind of a spotlight on you, and I've just been a big fan for a long time. I do want to ask you about this because a lot of our listeners are not board game players. How did you two get involved in board games? Like in most relationships, one person is like the instigator, and then the other person might be dragged into it. Is that the two of you?
Well, it was like one of Amy's friends was the person that introduced us. We sort of went over for games night, and they brought out this game called Splendor, which is one of the very well-known gateway games. It's all about kind of like gem collecting, but it's a very, very clever, very simple to get into, but quite crunchy to master type game. And we just loved it. And then over a series of date night or game date nights with these friends, they introduced us to like more and more games, another one called Dominion, another one called Ticket to Ride. And we were like, what is this? This is amazing. We need to know everything about this. And we actually both got into we were both discovered the hobby at the same time. And we both got like incredibly obsessed straight away. So it was actually quite lucky in a way because we have someone to share it, but it's unlucky because there's no one to kind of hold us back, enable one another a bit too much. So yeah, that's how we got into it.
Is that what, well, I have to ask then, in Australia, because in the United States, you get a tax break for things used for business. So part of what I like about talking board games is I get to write all those off against my taxes. Do you get that too? Do you have a similar system?
Yeah, it's very similar. So we have, of course, set the channel up as a bit of a business, not to necessarily make money, but it definitely helps because we do earn some income through YouTube, whether that's ad revenue or the support of our wonderful community to help the channel going. So yes, it does make some game purchases certainly tax deductible, which is a nice little benefit.
Yeah. It's that whole thing. It's as long as you're having to pay tax on it, which is we would because it's income, then you get to deduct things against it. And that's fair. I think that's fair.
No, absolutely. And what a wonderful way to justify your addiction. Like,
very true.
Well, you've been nice enough, though, to share with us today 2 top 5 lists. The first top 5 list that you put together for us, and thank you so much for doing this, is 5 games that you really like. And we'll do this kind of David Letterman style, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where 5 games that include economics or maybe a little bit about money. So let's do those. How about our number 5?
Sounds great. Well, we haven't put them in any particular order, but we'll start with...
because they're all good for different reasons.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And they're all coming from our collection, so we love them all. But the first one is a bit of a classic, and it's a little card game called High Society, and this is by Rainer Knizia. It is a game where you're playing as the French aristocrat. You're trying to collect wealth and adornment that are going to prove that you are definitely worthy of everybody's time in the social.
You want everyone to be jealous and envious of you. And, the way that you achieve that in French high society is through having the most luxuries. So that's what you're going to be spending your money on.
Yeah. And so everybody starts with a handful of cards that all have different denominations of monetary value. And you're going to be bidding on cards as they come up. So someone is going to reveal the top card on a deck, and that card is going to generally have a value from 1 to 10. And we're going to be bidding on those in order to bring them into our collection of adornments. And ultimately, the main goal is that you're trying to have the highest number of points at the end of the game. But the trick is the person who spends the most is eliminated from the game at the end of the game.
If you have the least amount of money, you're going to immediately be kicked out of high society because you might have all the luxuries, but everyone knows,
your bank balance is really low.
So it's a really intense balance between how much do I bid to acquire all these goods versus, am I spending too much money? Am I going to be the person with the least amount of money at the end? Yeah. So you're kind of also checking things around the table.
And there's a randomization of the end game as well. So you don't know when the game is going to end. So you're still thinking, well, do I have enough points to win at this point? So it's very, very difficult, tough choices.
The other thing that I love about it is there's also some of the cards are faux pas, so like scandals or things that you don't want. And so that round... Yeah, that round is hilarious because now you're actually bidding to not get that. So everyone's like throwing money to make that problem go away, sort of thing. And so it's the person who can't or won't pay for that to go away that ends up getting these usually either negative points or something that's going to halve their score. And so it just creates an incredible dynamic and tense and hilariousness around the table. I absolutely enjoy it. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of laughs playing this game. And really, this is a game, you talked earlier, Maggie, about gateway games. This is a very easy game for people to understand. Like, you can take this over to a friend's house and they'll get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a favorite of my mum's, actually.
Yes.
So.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Well, and also to your point, I think my favorite part is when those cards come up of the things you don't want. Like, that is my favorite part where you're like, oh, God, no, please. No. I do not need that.
Yeah, and you lose all your money making problems go away. That doesn't advance you in the game at all. It's a great game.
Yeah, it feels like when your roof needs repair. If you own your house and your roof needs repair, you're like, this does nothing for my lifestyle, but if I don't do something about it, then
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Things are going to get exponentially worse.
Yes, absolutely. That's a fantastic one. What's next?
Well, the next one is a little bit of a bigger game. So we're going straight from accessible card game to what is known as probably a Euro-style game. So it's a little bit heavier. And this game is Newsford.
I've never played this game. It is a beautiful cover, though. This is a beautiful cover.
This is an excellent game, and it's an excellent as well for the complex strategic Euro-style games. This is a great way into those because it's in a smallish kind of package and it plays fairly quickly. It probably plays within an hour or so. You get so much of those elements of the strategy and the complexity, but I'll let Amy talk about it.
Well, economically, you are you're the owner of a fishing company. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to build up your fleet of ships so that you can get more fish. And you're trying to sell those fish. But you're also trying to sell shares in your company, which is really interesting. So you can issue shares in your own company, and you want to do that because if you don't issue shares in your company, they're going to be worth negative points at the end of the game. So you need to issue those shares. But what's really interesting is the other players around the table can purchase those shares. And then you're going to have to pay fish dividends every time you go out and you bring back a haul of fish. You're going to have to pay out proportionately to all of the investors in your fishing company.
Yeah.
So it's just a really interesting,
absolutely
economic dilemma.
Because it's all like ultimately it's sort of this concept of having your net worth. So it's a combination of shares. It's a combination of the buildings that you manage to build based on all that money that you're able to kind of accumulate along the way. But also you can buy shares in other people's companies, and then you're actually getting those fish from from the other companies. You can even buy back your own shares if they are available. And so you're then, just like when you buy back your own shares, you get to keep more of the profit. But when you buy them back, there's no negative because it's already, they've been sold. It's all, you're buying them for good reason. So I just love how much they've managed to, and it has also an excellent solo mode, I should say. So if you're out there wondering, I don't really have anyone to play something like this with, you can play the solo, and it's an excellent, very, very streamlined way to play. You don't have to worry about any kind of complicated AI or robot to facilitate. It's just beautifully, simply done.
This game wasn't at all on my radar, and now I'm like, okay, take my wallet. Just take my wallet, because this sounds totally like me, but I love the idea. So what you're saying, I think, so Amy, if you're winning the game, and I think you're doing really well, I can buy into that winning, right, by buying shares of your company? I mean, if you're doing really well, then I share in that?
Yeah, you get only opportunities as and when I decide to issue shares. And so if I put them out there onto the board, then you have the opportunity to snap them up. And there's lots of other elements in the game too. You are clearing forests so that you can build buildings that are going to help you, get other resources and continue your journey as, to build more ships and to get help from elders. So it's much more complex than just the issuing of shares, but that certainly is a really interesting component of the game.
But this one is much more for somebody that wants a little bit of a deeper dive, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But this designer, Uwe Rosenberg, I mean, he's done multiple people over the years have talked about another game of his that's much more accessible. And I don't want to preview, maybe this is coming up later, but Bonanza, his bean trading game, tons of people have talked about that game.
Very different game.
Very different.
That is not on our list, but now I wish it was, because we absolutely love that game. Yes.
It's hilarious, and it's just this back and forth, and I've got stink bean, who wants my stink bean, or who wants my coffee bean, or it's a hilarious negotiation.
A card shedding game. You're just trying to sell things to people who don't want them.
Also hilarious if you're not in the room, if you're kind of overhearing people talking about it and sharing, trading beans. It's just, apparently it's a hilarious conversation to overhear.
No, Maggie, it's funny when you said, who wants my stink bean? My dad loves this game, and he shortened it to just, who wants my stink? Who wants my stink? And we're like, no, nobody wants your stink. Nobody.
Yeah. That's a classic dad thing to do.
Yes. And for everybody listening, I'll just throw that in the show notes too. But oh my goodness, I love the idea of being able to buy other people's shares in a game. That's so fun. But anyway, what is next, ladies?
Okay.
What is next?
So next we have one that is a 2-player game, so head to head, and it's called Radlands. Radlands takes place in this post-apocalyptic world where everything has been ravaged And the currency now and all that really matters is water. So droplets of water are actually the equivalent of money. So that's what you're using to build things, to acquire or recruit people, to pay them for the things that they're doing. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be protecting, essentially, both players are going to be protecting their 3 camps. Which is where you're going to be holding, essentially, that's where obviously your water, your precious water is being held. So you've got these 3 camps, and in front of them, you're going to be placing cards so that as you're getting attacked, those cards are the ones getting attacked instead of your camp at the end getting attacked. And those cards that you're going to be placing there are the people that you're recruiting. You're kind of different versions of either different skills. Like some of them are fighters, some of them are things that allow you to heal other things or recover. But the interesting thing about this is, again, as you're using, like, water or the currency is so scarce that every turn is so excruciating, going, oh, what am I going to do? Am I going to try and get more people? Am I going to activate some of the people that I have? Am I going to try and attack? Do I have to try and prepare for an onslaught that's coming? The other thing that you can do is you can set events in motion. So you can kind of, there's these cards that then once you activate them, they take a few kind of sometimes turns or sometimes time to get closer and closer to creating something really bad for your opponent. So as the opponent, you start seeing that thing coming. You're going, how am I going to mitigate against that? And sometimes you have a round or two. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time. So it's an excellent, again, fairly straightforward game to get into, because it's just really cards and those tokens for the water. And it's just beautiful. The artwork and the cards is just so fluorescent and so almost like, that sort of neon punk look. And it's just such a fun, tense, exciting experience. The deluxe edition that came with Kickstarter, I believe the retail edition actually comes in a smaller box that it comes in, because the version that we have has neoprene mats as well. But it can also come in this, because it's just cards really. So it can come in this format. So cards and the tokens inside. And it's just an excellent, excellent 2-player game.
This very much has a Mad Max feel to the artwork.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And the idea that water is the resource that is scarce is hitting a little close to home in the American West. Like, that's a little too close to home. But isn't that a hallmark of a great game? Like, when I watch your videos, I feel like when money is scarce, right? When you really have to make these tough money decisions, for me, that seems like a hallmark of a really good game.
Absolutely. And the hallmark of life, really, isn't it? The trade-offs, the tension of life. Yeah. Do I buy another board game or do I pay that bill?
It just really makes those moments really, it makes you appreciate them even more when you manage to actually, get that thing. You're like, oh, I worked so hard for it. And here it is finally. Yeah.
Maybe that is a little too close to home there too. Yeah. I've never heard of that game. I've never, ever heard of it. And now I can't wait to try it out. What is next?
So the other one, actually,
we don't have it to show because
it's behind me somewhere. I'm not going to be able to, because it's a massive, massive box. So it's called Magnate the First City. So this one is for anyone who loves the real estate component of Monopoly, but hates Monopoly.
Yeah.
This is, in my opinion, the single best real estate game that has ever hit a table of mine.
This might be, in all our years of doing this, the first time somebody's recommended, besides maybe For Sale, but this may be the first real estate game that I can't think of another real estate game, but anyway.
It is such a pure real estate joy of a game, to the point where if you don't like real estate, stay away from this game. Because this is like, it just harnesses that so beautifully. The whole game is about, you have all these plots of land and you're, at the start of it, you're trying to time the market. You want to make sure that you buy those plots of land when the market is low, so you can grab up some bargains there. Then you're going to be building buildings there, and you actually even get to decide the type of building. You're going to go industrial, commercial, residential.
Wow.
And depending on what they're near or next to, they're going to make them more worthwhile or more valuable or less valuable. So if you're near parklands, then of course residential is going to love it. If you're near an industrial complex, residential is not going to do so well, because there's, so the adjacencies are important. And then when you're bringing in tenants as well, because you can bring different lots of tenants, the tenants are going to pay more based on, again, what is it adjacent to, what other buildings are around that are kind of synergistic with them. And then this is the best bit. But the point where you start seeing, okay, I've got my buildings, they're tenanted, the market's about to crash or it's at a peak, then you want to sell, sell, sell. Because then at that point, as you're selling, you're getting so much money. And eventually the game kind of ends after it. There's this peak in the market and then there's the inevitable crash that happens. And at that point, if you've held on to your properties for too long, they can be worth very little. They're still worth something, but very little.
And when you're selling your properties, you're actually contributing to the crash as well. So, it peaks and then everyone around the table is kind of eyeing off each other. And you're like, are you going to sell off all of your property? Because if you aren't, I am.
So clever. And even the way they use advertisement. So you can use advertising to like attract more people and get the value up. But again, as the value goes up, then that impending crash is getting closer and closer. So clever. A lot, obviously, this one's a little bit heavier than some of the other games that we've talked about. But if you love real estate, this was going to be well worthwhile getting into.
Yeah, the other thing, and it harks back to Monopoly, is that board gamers are a bit funny about paper money. Mm-hmm. So having money represented by bits of paper, just like in Monopoly. Yeah. No, gamers are not into that because it's not very long lasting. And
usually they get like the metal coins and
coins or poker chips. That type of thing is usually used in board gaming. But this game has paper money. And at first we were like, not sure about that. But in this game, you get a wallet that stores all of the paper money and keeps it hidden from your opponents so they don't know how much money you're sitting on. And this wallet just gets fatter and fatter and fatter.
So
and it is so satisfying to feel so rich. Or the opposite, when it's very thin.
Yeah, you're like, oh no, it's not, but all my money is tied up in the buildings. And I know that my payday will come when I, finally sell those buildings, or when, my passive income will come when the new round starts and I get to charge rent to all my tenants. So it's just so well executed. It's an excellent game. So it's Magnate First City.
I think there's so many of our fans that are going to love that when we have so many people interested in real estate that listen to the show. I do have a question about it, though. When you talk about the economic cycle and the inevitable crash, is that at the same time every game, or is it random, or can we it sounds like you can kind of see it coming, though.
Yeah, so it's not random. This is what makes it so clever. It's not random. It's determined by the actions that players are doing. And so again, the more the market is active, and the more advertising is happening, and so it's actually the dynamics that are playing out in that particular game that are going to speed up or slow down that market crash.
That's cool. Like we've had here in the US, kind of an overheated, probably the same there, have had an overheated real estate market that will help bring about the crash, so as people are buying.
Yeah, in Melbourne, actually, we have one of the highest costs of real estate in the world. I think it's in the top 5 now. And so it's a little close to home. We were playing this with my sister and she was like, this game is a little bit triggering because I'm never going to get into the property market. And this is why, so
yeah, at least you get to buy it in the make-believe board game.
Yeah, you get to feel rich for a moment. So
yeah, or just move to a little tiny town in Texas right here, Mom's Basement, where we make podcasts. And it's because we are nowhere near the top 5, nowhere near. These have been fantastic. And I love the fact that I have never heard of 3 of them, which is awesome. Let's dive into the 5th one.
Well, the 5th and final one, complete opposite of Magnate. If you can't make money, well, you might as well go digging for some. So it's a card game called a roll and write, or a flip and write, called Silver and Gold. And what we mean by roll and write, if you haven't heard of that term before, is a fairly new genre of board games where everybody has a pen or a pencil and you're trying to mark something off on a piece of paper in front of you. And all of the different games have different objectives. In this particular one, you are trying to scan islands for treasure. And the way that you're going to be looking for that treasure is you're going to be crossing off shapes on different island cards that are in front of you. And those shapes, if you're familiar with Tetris, polyomino shapes, so those Tetris piece shapes, are going to be drawn from a deck, and that deck is randomized. And so you might get that L piece shape, and you've got to mark that off on one of your islands. And the objective is to fit all of these shapes onto the island and complete them, because when you complete them, they're going to be worth points at the end of the game, and then you get to draft a new island. And of course, in treasure hunting style, there are gold coins that you can collect along the way. So if you're successful in covering up these gold coins, they're going to be filling up your bag of coins until you reach a certain amount, and then you're going to get a trophy. And that trophy is a little bit of a race element with the people around the table, because the sooner you can fill up your bag with coins, the higher the amount of points that you're going to get for doing so. There's also this really fun combo feel to the game, because you can cross off these little red X's, and they're going to allow you to then cross off any square on any of your islands. So if you can get that momentum going where you can, cross off a lot of things at once, that's what's really kind of fun about the game. But it's a really straightforward game that is really family friendly.
Very easy to get into, very easy to teach and just get going, and very one of those very fun, plays fairly quickly. And most of the time people go, okay, again, let's do that again. That was fun. Yeah.
Often these type of games can be played with large numbers of people. I mean, the number of people could play this is 99. Is this the same?
It's a bit limited.
It's just limited by the markers and the number of cards.
Gotcha.
So this one only plays up to 4. But if you get a couple of copies, so you have more markers and you have a few more cards, you can add multiple copies together and increase the player count if you wanted to.
I've had an analogy that I've used for this type of game, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, so feel free to strongly disagree. But it just feels to me, what I like about this game, there's a little bit of a bingo element where you like turn over a thing and then everybody decides where it goes. It's kind of like bingo for people with a brain,
Yeah, that is absolutely a great way of explaining it, because I also love bingo.
Oh, yeah, that's excellent. I will not hear a bad word about bingo. But also in this one, there's choice. Because in bingo, it's just about, making sure that I capture, the numbers that came out. And this one, there's well, where am I going to put it? And in what shape and in what form? So yes, there's that element of which one came out? But also, what are my decisions? What decisions am I going to make? That are going
Everyone has the same shape and you're all doing different things with it. I love that, it's kind of pure information, and it's just about who can use that information in the best way.
Yeah.
So.
Which I like. That creates these great conversations. I mean, part of what I like about board games versus a video game, let's say, is that they're so communal that you can sit across a table from people and have these wonderful discussions. But, when I play this type of game, at the end of the game, we're all talking about how we made different decisions with that same information. Yes. And that's kind of, I put it over there and that's where I screwed up,
Yeah.
Which is super
Absolutely.
Fun. Well, those are fantastic. We will link to all of Amy and Maggie's top 5 here on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. In just a moment, we're going to have you ladies come back. And, for a lot of people, they go to Target, they go to Walmart, and around this time of year, try to play games with friends and family. And if you don't know what to buy, you might make a really bad decision. So Amy and Maggie are going to help us not waste money and make some better decisions when we buy games around the holidays.
Hey there, Stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. I just took a shin kick from a kindergartner over an LOL Surprise OMG Remix Pop BB fashion doll. Luckily, seems like she skipped arm day because I still wrestled it from her in the end. Whew, okay. Where were we? Oh, board games. So you probably know where all the places in Monopoly are, such as Atlantic Avenue, Park Place, and Boardwalk. But my question is, where is Marvin Gardens in real life? I'll be back right after I ice down my bones and strap on some more protective gear to head back out for more Black Friday fun.
You may be out shopping today, but I am playing games. And you know why both of us are doing those things? Because we have the freedom to do it. And that's because of our veterans. But companies rarely thank veterans in a way that's meaningful. Well, at Navy Federal Credit Union, every day is Veterans Day. They thank veterans in a way that's very meaningful with resources like the VA Loans Hub and Best Cities After Service. They offer veteran employment assistance partnerships with nonprofits like The Mission Continues, They're a top VA home loan lender, offer personal finance counseling, and they offer 24/7 member service. They have a growing community of over 1.8 million veterans like you. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/veterans. That's NavyFederal.org/veterans. Insured by NCUA, an equal housing lender.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Shopper and Karate Chopper, Joe's mom's neighbor Doug. All right, I gotta confess that this was a trick question. Marvin Gardens with an E is near Atlantic City, but you'll notice in Monopoly, it's spelled with an I. In real life, here's what happened. There was a typo on the game board, and they just left it. So Marvin Gardens versus Marvin Gardens. Yeah, Marvin Gardens of Monopoly fame doesn't exist. And now, with a top 5 list to help us figure out which games we should bring to our holiday party so we don't waste Benjamins, back to Amy and Maggie from ThinkerThemer.
All right, we're here with our second half of our discussion with Team ThinkerThemer. Before we get back to this second idea that we have about not wasting our money on games and making good choices of buying games when we play them with non-gamers, with friends and family, stuff that's fun around the holidays as we get together with lots of people, I want to ask you about ThinkerThemer and about how you guys decided that. Are you truly, Amy, just all about the thinking, the mechanics of the game, and the theme is irrelevant, like what the game, you could be trading stuff or making wine or who cares? And Maggie, are you really just all about the theme and who cares about the mechanical parts?
That's such a good question. When we came up with ThinkerThemer, it was really just trying to place a label on what we were starting to see with our game preferences. Like, we would play games together, and for the longest time, we, enjoyed the same types of games. As we got further into the hobby, I was like, why do I love this so much and you just hate it? And vice versa. And also in our real life, I am very much a bottom up type thinker. Like, I have to start in the detail, in the weeds, before I can grasp like the bigger picture. Whereas Maggie she's extremely spiritual, extremely like all about the meaning of life,
big picture. Yeah. What's that?
Big picture. So we're actually fundamentally different in this way. And that translates through to the way that we enjoy and play games. So I grew up with chess. I'm very happy to sit down for an entirely themeless abstract game, whereas Maggie hates style of game. She has, because there's no meaning to it. There's no reason for being. There's no thematic bigger picture.
I'm like, but why?
Why is this happening?
Why am I doing this? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. But I guess the games that we both enjoy the most are ones where the two come together. So when there's a purpose or a strong theme, and then that plays out with the mechanics of the game, so you actually feel like you're doing what you're meant to be doing. So those are definitely our favorite games because it brings us both together in competition, of course.
Yes. Yeah, because you guys also very famously, for your fans, that your fans know, you guys don't like co-op games. Like, you don't like games where you're on the same team. You want to be at each other's throat.
We realize that unless there's a real big element of tension, like, for example, sand timers. So we seem to do fine with co-op games where there's a lot of pressure that you have to complete things before the sand timer runs out or before a beeper goes off, because it's like, your countdown has finished. So I think a big part of that is what we don't tend to enjoy is the sort of like sitting around negotiating what's going to be the best thing, or what am I going to do? What are you going to do? It's like, okay, we're in no time to talk. Yeah, this is crisis mode. We need to like problem solve, be very efficient, and there's still that tension. And so that seems to work for us.
That's funny.
Yeah,
well, they say
that's what.
Yeah, they say opposites attract. So there you go. Maybe that's maybe that's
absolutely.
it. Well, help us out here, because I know you've made I know when I was first starting to collect a few games in my 20s, I jumped on eBay and I just made some horrible decisions, just bought some just crappy games, horrible stuff. And then I learned about Board Game Geek. And then now we've got great channels like ThinkerThemer where we can go and we can learn about a game and decide if we like it or not. But for the two of you, what are maybe 5 games that we could safely go to the store or jump on Amazon or wherever we buy from and not make a bad decision with people that don't play games much?
Yeah, well, we've tried to focus on games for the holiday season, games that bring everybody together. And we've got a few great ones here. Interestingly, on our channel, Maggie is known for not enjoying fun.
I don't like games that have a lot of fun, that are just like fun and funny. And like, I do not like it. That's a hilarious thing because I'm a fun person. I'm actually not, and that's not true. I'm not a fun person. That's really why. Like, I'm a happy person, but I don't like fun. I like funny things and I will laugh very easily, but I don't enjoy, sitting around a table, like just having something silly. Like, I'll do it for a little bit, but I want to kind of like sink my teeth into something meaningful.
Actually, like strategic games.
What's it about? Like, but why? Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of a party game in general, which is what you're going to play, is not your thing. Like, no thanks.
Not my thing at all.
Leave me out of the party game.
But I have to say, the ones we've chosen, Maggie does enjoy. Yeah. But this list might be dominated a little bit by my favorites because
like 90% will say this is Amy's.
I'm also the extrovert in our relationship as well. So I certainly, games for me, the biggest part of it is seeing everybody else enjoy it around the table too. So sorry.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to say that it may seem, this joke is old now, but I like the idea that Maggie puts the FU in fun. So just...
I have never heard that before. That joke didn't make it to Australia.
I love it. Yeah.
All right. So let's jump in, Amy. What do you got?
Okay. I have a recent game from this year, actually, a game called Kites. And Joe, in our emails backwards and forwards, this was one that you had mentioned that you had seen on the channel and you wanted to give it a go because we've been talking about it so much. But this little game really caught us by surprise. One of the reasons is because Kites is a cooperative game. So in this game, you are all working together, but you are trying to keep a series of kites in the sky, and those kites are represented by sand timers. So you have all of these different colored sand timers in front of the group, and then what the group is going to be doing is one by one in turn order, you are going to be placing a card from your hand down onto the table, and that card will have a different colored kite represented, sometimes 1, sometimes 2. And when you play that card, it's going to mean that the sand timer gets flipped. And so what you're doing is you're extending the time of that kite being in the sky. And collectively, you don't have all of the colors of the kites in your hand. So you need to be talking, communicating the whole time. I can just hurry up and take a turn because I can save the blue one. Just get back to my turn.
In a cooperative way.
Yeah. And if at any point one of the kites falls from the sky, game over, you lose as a team. But if you manage to keep them all up in the sky and get rid of everybody's cards in their hands as well as the cards in the deck that you are redrawing from, then you're all going to win as a group. So it's definitely an all win or all lose style game. You can also increase the complexity in the game by adding in some advanced cards into the deck that are going to really confuse things. So there's one called aeroplane mode. And when someone picks up that card, they have to play it on the next turn. They say aeroplane mode, and that means nobody can talk for the next round.
Oh.
Silent.
Yeah. Like trying to could someone please let that timer? Just nudge towards it. And then there's also a card that will force you to swap cards with the person, the person next to you.
And the best one is the storm.
A storm is coming. So when you get this card, you say a storm is coming, and on the next turn you have to play it. And what it does is it flips every sand timer,
no matter how low or high they may be.
Yeah. And one of the complications of the game is that all of the different colored kites have a different amount of sand in them. So some of them, need to be flipped more often. It's just extremely chaotic. It's super stressful. And what a better way to bring people together.
It's a real energizer. Like, it's one of those, like, we play this at like 1 a.m. when everyone is just so out of it and tired. And by the end of it, everyone's so full of adrenaline that they're like, all right, I'm ready for a 3-hour game now. Like, it's better than a shot of coffee, essentially.
The big thing that caught my eye watching the two of you go over it, two things. The first thing was you were maybe, 3 minutes into your description of how to play, and I got it. Like, this is a very easy game to teach. Well, you're great at teaching games, but I think it is easy for anybody to teach, which, as you know, with people that don't play a lot of games, people go, the rules, I just don't want to read the rules.
Yeah.
But then number two about this game, it's so pretty. It is just, the art is pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the art is by an artist called Beth Sobel, who is quite famous in the board game realm for doing beautiful artwork across a number of different, themes. And the kite artwork is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it is stunning.
Good. So if your holiday event isn't stressful enough, guys, go buy kites. So cut that.
Just add some more sand timers into the mix. Yeah,
that's right. There's some relatives that I end up going to have to eat with over the holiday season where I wish we had a sand timer on their stories. That would be cool.
Like, I was loving that story, but the timer is out.
Unfortunately,
moving on to the next person.
So sorry.
Thank you, Uncle Roger.
So sorry. All right, what is next in the basket of goodness here?
So the next one is a beautiful game.
This is gorgeous, and this is brand new too.
This is brand new. It's called Flamecraft. This is a gorgeous production, much bigger box. So this is not the one that you kind of just, crack open in between family events. This is one of those that you want to, we want to have the table and you want to have some time to kind of sit down and play it. But in this game, Flamecraft, you are a flame keeper. And what that means is you can actually communicate with dragons. But these are not your stock standard, destructive, mean dragons. These are their cousins who are just so beautifully gentle and artistic. And so they are artisan dragons. And so you're essentially in this beautiful town with all these lovely little dragons who all they want to do is make crafts. And so there's all these different shops, and you're going to be essentially matching the best dragon to the best shops so that they can help with, flaming things, making glass, making, helping. Yeah,
they're basically hipster dragons.
Hipster dragons.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, and so every component of this is just so beautiful as well. It's one of those beautifully aesthetic experiences. It's fairly light in terms of the complexity to get into, and it is a good way of teaching gamers about the mechanic of what we call worker placement, which is you're kind of taking your worker or your kind of key dragon, putting them in one of the shops, and then activating different things. Either getting things from that shop or the ingredients, or fulfilling what we call a recipe, essentially in that area, which again either means that you can attract more dragons to that shop, or give you points in different ways. And so it's a fairly, from a theme point of view and just from like a table presence point of view, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I think young and old will really enjoy this, but it's just a great gateway game. We're always looking for ways to bring more people into the hobby of board gaming. And this one has that table presence to bring people in, but it's also not that complex, but it teaches you little elements that, you can then take and kind of level up your board gaming sophistication.
Yes.
What's the minimum age that's listed on the box? Do you know?
The minimum age is 10. And one of the things that I learned about that when you see the minimum age, this was one of the things that got me once. I was like, I remember seeing, I think before, it's like this minimum age 12 or 14. And I thought, that means that it's a really complex and, a heavier type game. And that's not what it is. A lot of times the age apparently is more to do with the level of testing that they've done, that they've put into, which is an investment in terms of from the publisher side, because apparently there's particular types of cognitive type testing and even, what do you call it? Sort of like that, for example, to make sure that kids that's going to be safe for particular ages, but also that they're going to be able to manage some of the components and things like that. So even though this says 10 and up, I think you could potentially play it with younger kids. I probably wouldn't play this with toddlers, but like I think, someone in like 8, 8 plus would be fine.
And enamored by the dragons.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess that's more of a word of warning of like with the age, when it sort of shows the age. Obviously one element is safety, particularly for the younger age groups in terms of components, because it does have small components, and they all will say, this is not a toy. Like, these are not toys. They're components for a board game. But yeah, I feel like, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old would be able to play that.
I took one of these back, I've been doing this forever, and we used to have to buy board games that we liked, these super nerdy games directly from Germany. So I had this game that came from Germany, and a relative's toddler chewed on one of my cards.
Oh, no.
And back then you couldn't get another, you just couldn't get another one. There wasn't going to be another one. So we had to figure out some silly rule. But
I did just have that moment of, am I worried about the toddler or the card? Like I actually, in my mind, I was like,
do you know what?
That's terrible, isn't it?
Do you know what's crappy, Amy? This is totally horrible. Cheryl, my spouse, got angry at me because I was upset about the card. I was not at all upset about the toddler. I'm like, this
came all the way from Germany
on a ship. Yeah. Like I literally, I order this thing. It comes like 2.5 months later, right? And it cost $1 bajillion. And 3 weeks later, my relative's kid is chewing on the card. And anyway.
Toddler's not from Germany, so.
No, 1 star.
The toddler just came from down the road. It's like, which is more exotic here?
I know. Come on. And Cheryl's like, everybody in the room could tell that you could care less about this kid's health. I'm like, I'm sorry. I am an evil
It's a thing, if there's a loud noise, which one do you reach out to protect? It's like you're startled. It's like, protect the game.
Yes.
And the kid's just like, seriously?
Back to Flamecraft, though, I think the word cute comes to mind first for me when I see this board.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and board gaming traditionally, and probably certainly at the time when you were importing games from Germany, a lot of the themes are not very diverse. So there's a lot of fantasy. There's a lot of sci-fi. And if you're not into those themes, and we're actually not, it's quite hard to find games that have something different. And this, artisan dragons with their little stalls in a village, that could not be more different. And it's so great to see games like that, big games like Wingspan as well, which is all about bird collecting and bird watching.
Yeah.
Those kind of games are just opening up the hobby to so many new gamers, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I love that. Hipster dragons, I think, Amy, was a good phrase. That's awesome. What is next in the bag of goodness?
Well, the next one is an absolute favorite of mine. I'm pretty much known for always buying copies of this and sharing it when I go to cons and things. It's a little tiny game called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. And when you asked about the list, of course, I always want to share this game and talk about this game.
Any excuse. Someone asked for the time. She's like, have you heard of Taco Cat Goat Cheese? He's like, no, but that's not what I asked.
And by the way, for people not watching us on YouTube right now, you can see Maggie rolling her eyes as she's saying that. You can totally see her rolling her eyes.
I didn't realize I was rolling my eyes. I feel like you're yelling from deep down my soul.
Yeah. But this game it's really easy to find. So that is a great reason to put it on this list. When we've traveled in America, we've found it in the airport stores. We've found it in Walgreens. There's, Target. Everywhere has this game. But this little game is really simple to teach. You are simply going to have a pile of cards in front of each player, and they are going to, on their turn it over and say the next word in the sequence, taco, cat, goat, cheese, pizza. So one of those words, one at a time. As we go around the table, people will just be chanting that. So if it's my turn, I'll say taco, Maggie will then say cat, and we keep moving around the table saying that. But the interesting thing is you're also going to be flipping a card out of your deck. And if the word you say matches the image, so if I say taco and I am flipping a card that has a taco on it, everybody has to slap the pile of cards in the center. And if you do that last, you are going to have to take all of the cards. And obviously the objective in this game is to get rid of all of your cards. Now, there's a few little twists in the game that make this a bit more complex. First of all, a lot of the shapes look a lot like each other. So the cheese looks a lot like the pizza. So you've got to be very sure that you know what you're slapping. And if you are going to go for it and slap the pile of cards, then you want to be sure, because if you flinch or hesitate, you're also going to have to take the pile of cards. So you've got to be very careful about that. Then there are these 3 special cards in the deck that are hidden somewhere in the piles of cards. One is a gorilla, where as soon as that comes out, everybody has to beat their chest.
Yes, go gorilla, and then you like beat your chest.
And if you're the last person to do that, guess what? You're also taking the cards. There's a narwhal where you have to make the cord on the top of your head.
Yeah.
And then there is a groundhog where you need to beat the table.
Yeah.
And if
Bang
you,
on the
and
table.
obviously the groundhog and the gorilla look a lot alike, and it's very confusing. So if you beat your chest when you're meant to be knocking on the table, well, then guess what? You also take the pile of cards. So a very fun, simple, easy game. It's silly, but it's hilarious. And this is the best game that I've found so far to bring a group of people together who don't know each other on a table and just have them laughing, and all of a sudden there's this rapport, and now guess what? We can hit you with a heavier game. So
I do have to always
warmed up.
Whenever we talk about Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, I have to give a health and safety warning, because I have house ruled this. I hate games where you have to reach into the middle of the table with hands and things, because inevitably you get the twisted fingers and the things that kind of go horribly wrong.
And every time Maggie vetoes the game, I'm always saying, Maggie, why do you hate fun so much?
Yeah, but so this is the thing. So in my whenever I'm playing or whenever I'm around, I'm like, the rule is you're gonna, instead of reaching towards the middle, you're slapping in front of you. As like, sort of whoever slaps in front of them last, again, is the one who takes the pile. And they always give me crap about it, going, oh, why do you have to? We now have met someone who actually broke their finger.
Really?
So someone came up to us and said, hey, I want to show you something.
Yeah. And I posted on our social media and saying, basically Maggie was right.
Yes.
And then multiple people wrote back and said that they have also had injuries playing this game. So if you're out there, you do end up picking up this game, please be careful.
Be safe. I would recommend my house rule of don't reach into the middle to kind of cover the card. Just slap right in front of you.
It's still very fun.
It's still fun, which means that I still don't enjoy it because it's still too fun. I like watching it play. I like watching people playing it.
I was thinking that too, that this would be a fun game at a bigger party if you've got a group of people playing it. Like for people just standing around watching would be super fun. But I like how the ThinkerThemers come with a game that has an injury warning. Like that's pretty badass. Pretty badass.
The game itself doesn't. I bring the warning because I have first, as a nurse myself, I had concerns about it, and then my fears were confirmed.
Realized.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now I feel very vindicated and going, yes, be safe.
I was traveling around the country on my book tour this summer, and I went to 40 different cities. But when I was in Atlanta, one of our fans, and I'm sure he's listening to this because he loves board games, he actually liked this so much, he came up to me at the event and he sent me this game. So I have this because somebody in our Stacker community, Amy, is just like you. He and you.
Hello, let's be friends. If you're listening, let's be friends.
Yes, he was so adamant that I had to play this game, and you're right, it's fantastic.
And there is actually there's a Christmas edition, there's a Halloween edition, and there are many other variants of it, and of course I have to own them all. But
because it's like I own all the Cards Against Humanity sets, and I don't play that game anymore. Like I never play it. But I'm like, oh, they have a new set. I got to buy that. Why? I don't know.
Got to buy that. Yeah. Well, the designer of this game actually knows me, and not from the channel at all.
No.
Just from there's that crazy fan that always finds me at a board game convention, and has to buy something or get my pins or
Well, the way we've been chasing the two of you around, I thought you guys would think that way of me. Oh, it's the crazy podcast guy that wants us to come on. Yeah. All right. I think we have one more, right? Is my math right? We got one more?
Two more.
We have two more. Oh, my good. Bonus content.
More fun. So the next one is a game called Dream Crush.
I saw you talk about this just recently. Another game I have never heard of. And by the way, nothing. Can you hold that up for just a little bit longer for our YouTube friends? Nothing turns me off more than a game that says a timeless fantasy dating game. But
a timeless fantasy dating game.
But,
a good strapline. Yeah.
Hearing the two of you talk about it, this game sounds hilarious.
It is. It's a really, really fun game. Sorry, Maggie. But in this game...
I actually don't mind this game.
This is
the exception to the rule.
Yeah. So in this game, you are on a dating show. So imagine, those old school dating shows where there are 3 potential suitors. And these suitors take the form of just this, a cardboard cutout that just has an illustration of someone on them. But we know nothing about these people. And what's really interesting about this game is every round, something is going to be revealed about that potential love interest. So we're going to be learning more about each of the candidates for love as the game goes on. And so there might be something that is revealed about them that is either going to be a turn off for everybody around the table or someone around the table, or a turn on maybe for some people. And there are strange little facts about people. So it might be as something as benign as, this candidate keeps a dream journal. Some people might be really into that and others not. Or another one might be that every weekend they want you to go to a motor show with them. And some people might be like, that's great, I'm into cars, like that could work for me. And other people are like, well, that sounds like the worst possible thing to do on the weekend.
One that is like, has a cockatoo that will live 50 years and hates you.
So they range from, the things that you can kind of live with and other things that you're like, can I live with that? I'm not sure. But the way the game works is you are actually going to be trying to predict who your friends and family around the table would choose to date in every given round. So it requires a good knowledge of the things that annoy your friends and family that would rule out these different love interests. And so every round we're learning a little bit more information that's painting a broader picture of the candidate. And then I have to evaluate, now, is that thing a deal breaker for Maggie? Is she going to swap to a different candidate based on this new information? And so the way you get points is by correctly predicting who everybody is going to date each round. And it's extremely hilarious, as you can imagine, in the table talk that goes on when someone decides to stay with someone or decides to swap. And you're like, of all the things, that's the thing? That's where you draw the line? That's where you draw the line? Like, how can you put up with this other thing? And it's just really hilarious. I will say, though, this game shines the most with a group of people that you know really, really well. So a really close group of friends. Yeah. It can be a little bit awkward if you choose to play with your parents, for example.
I think things that you don't want to know that come out like, oh, no,
Mom, like, I didn't need to know that. And also, it's not the type of game that you want to play with a group of strangers at a board game convention. It doesn't make sense because you don't know them well enough. So, but it, amongst the right group of people, this game is fantastic. Like, people always ask to borrow our copy. It is just so much fun and a great one for the holiday season, I think.
That's fabulous. I have, again, before I saw it on your channel, I'd never heard of it. And it's on my list because I know our family would have a ton of fun with that game. And the fact that it's awkward, our holidays are already awkward. So this just makes it even more delicious.
That's true.
So much more.
But it's like, it's awkward in a funny way. It's not because none of it, none of the stuff in there is like controversial or awful or confronting. It's all really silly stuff. So,
All right. Well, now we have 4 of them. I feel like I need a drum roll, and I feel like I'm going to start crying because this is the end. This is the last one.
Yeah, we do. We have one more, and this one is for the gamers out there. This game is called Cat in the Box. It is a game that is what we call a trick-taking game, which you might know some of the traditional card games that are trick-taking games like Hearts. But there's been a real resurgence of those games recently, particularly coming out of Japan. Japan are really into this style of game where basically everybody is trying to play cards from a hand of cards and then win what's called a trick by usually having the highest played card in the suit of interest into the center. But Cat in the Box is really interesting. It's a twist on the trick-taking genre, where all of the cards have no suit. So all you have in your hand is a handful of black cards that have different numbers on them. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be trying to win tricks by allocating that card a suit as you play it down in front of you. So all players have a little cardboard rectangle that depicts 4 different suit colors on there, and you're going to be playing the card down. So if I have an 8, I might play it next to yellow and be like, this is now an yellow 8. Then there is a board in the center that represents all of the possible colors and their numbers in front of you, usually from 1 to 8 or 1 to 9, depending on the player count. And what you're going to be doing is placing one of your tokens out to cover off that yellow 8. So now the yellow 8 is out of the round and nobody else can ever play the yellow 8 again. So instead of having a full deck of cards, the board represents the full deck of cards.
Whoa.
But yeah, so it's quite interesting. But what's interesting as well is that there will be 4 8s shown on the board, but actually there are 5 8s in the cards in people's hands. And so what you're trying not to do is get stuck with a card that you can't play or cards that you can't play in the board of choices, because if that happens, you're going to cause what's called a paradox, and you are going to basically end the round, but then every trick you've won so far during that round is going to be worth negative points.
Oh, no.
So you don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And it's actually based on a really interesting theory, this game, thematically.
I can never say the name. Is it Schrodinger's cat?
Something, yeah.
So that whole, the quantum, I think it's like that quantum, well, they actually call it a quantum trick-taking game, because it's like quantum theory of, before, if you have a cat in the box, and there was, you don't know if the cat is alive or dead until you open it. And at that point, there's like, it's like this whole splitting off into it's both alive and dead. And then at that point, it's like whatever reality you kind of step into. So that's the whole thing with the cards. It's like the cards have no suit or no color until it gets played. And at that point, it kind of gets decided what color it is. So that's probably the link, as far thematically linked as you go. After that, it's really just, a card game that has got this very, very clever thing of like, oh no, don't be the one that then can't play a card.
And the thing I love about this game is we've been kind of carrying it on us when we're out at board game days, and it's a game that is actually really fast to teach. And it works equally well with people who have never played trick taking before or are new to board games, as it does heavy gamers who love trick taking, because there's multiple layers to it that you can try and challenge yourself to achieve, more points. So it works equally well with both sets of people. And we love games that can kind of bridge that gap, because obviously during the holiday season, we play a lot of board games, but a lot of the people we see over the holiday season don't. And so it's really nice to have a game that we can enjoy and they can enjoy, and brings the group together.
I think the holidays are the perfect time for that late night card game too. I know in our family, there always seems to be at some night we'll all be sitting around in a late night card game, and one that's finally different. So we're not playing the same game that we've played every year is also nice by me. Thank you so much, Maggie, Amy. This has been such a great time. So what do you guys have? I know that you just got done going through your game collection and rating all of your games, which I found incredibly fascinating. If you want to see some cool games that you've never seen before, tune into ThinkerThemer. But what do you guys got for the rest of the year in 2023?
Yeah. Well, we're still working on that series. So we made this commitment to rate every game in our board game collection. It was ambitious. We are about 50, I think we're 50 games through now of probably a 300 or so game collection. But we've got this problem where there's more and more coming in the door. So maybe the series will go on forever.
We've now sort of realized it's both a conundrum, but also it makes for a very sustainable source of content, because we literally can't stay on top of all the new games that are kind of coming through. So it means that there's always, obviously, one, we have to be getting rid of games that we no longer play or no longer kind of have a role. We sell them. We might gift them to people who we think are going to enjoy them, and then make room for all the new stuff that also comes in, and then gives us a chance to talk about as well.
Yeah, and just on top of that, we are just reviewing board games or previewing board games. A lot of the time, in prototype form before they come out, to give people a sense of what they're all about and whether they want to, spend their hard-earned cash on them. Because it's always board games are not cheap.
No, right. So, I mean, you definitely don't want to just show up at a Target one day and just pick a game based on the artwork, because that will burn you. Go to ThinkerThemer and check it out and see if Amy and Maggie have looked at that. It's funny. I was speaking with Tom Vassell from the Dice Tower a few years ago, and I was telling him how great it is that people like him and the two of you get these games ahead of time. And is like, as a board game nerd, I'm like, how fun is that? And he goes, dude, it started off as fun. It is not as fun as you think it is.
Yeah, with it comes deadlines, and that is always tricky to
But it's
navigate.
also the level of evolution that prototype is at. Sometimes if they're too early in the piece and they haven't been play tested enough, they haven't been balanced enough, the rules are still changing. So it can actually be really frustrating because you're playing something that's not really complete or hasn't found its footing yet.
Yeah.
And so that's its own sort of challenge. But it can be so satisfying when you do play something that you're like, wow, this is so clever and it's doing something really new. And unfortunately, like a lot of times, the majority of the stuff that you play is like, yeah, it's okay. It was fine and it was okay. But it's so worth it for those
Endless
instances.
quest.
Yeah.
For the one.
Yeah,
The
those
one.
instances where you go, oh, this is so special. This is amazing. Yeah.
It's ThinkerThemer. We'll link to the channel on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. Amy, Maggie, thank you so much for helping stackers everywhere not waste money and have some more fun around the holidays. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and happy gaming.
Yeah, it's been our pleasure.
That's going to do it for today. Aren't they great? I just love the way Amy and Maggie talk about board games. And if you like them as much as me, you will find a link. I've been mentioning links to all these great board games on our show notes page, but there will be a link to Amy and Maggie's channel on our show notes as well at stackingbenjamins.com. But it's ThinkerThemer is, of course, the name of their channel. Hey, a few things here in the community calendar. If you are new here, head to stackingbenjamins.com/welcome. People that have been with us know that we are committed to making sure that you know how easy and how fun good money management can be, and how, even if you're not a money nerd, that good money habits can fuel all the things that you really want to do. It's not about the money. It's about being able to do what you want when you want. And we get so excited that we can help you do that. stackingbenjamins.com/welcome is our welcome guide. You can download that guide and it will show you all the ways that we can help you. Speaking of that, if you're somebody making near year-end decisions when it comes to your benefits, we have a brand new guide there too. stackingbenjamins.com/benefits. And I'm super excited for this. This is a subscription guide that we have created, not a free guide. It's a subscription guide, but it's a lifetime subscription. You know, the average person changes jobs once every 2.5 years was the last statistic that I saw. So whenever you change jobs, whenever the rules change, as long as we have a product, continually download this. You buy it once, you never have to buy another one again. We tried to chock it full of every decision you would make with your benefits. So if you struggle to make the right decisions with your benefits, we start off with a checklist to make the easy decisions, the usual culprits, and then we dive into the weeds with all kinds of our favorite curated spots to find the best info. So if you want to go really deep, you can with our benefits guide. If you just want to get it done quickly, we take care of you. stackingbenjamins.com/benefits gets you there. Those are a couple great resources that point to all the places where Stacking Benjamins can help. Finally, I got to say this as a guy that lives in little town America. Tomorrow, Small Business Day, right? Small Business Shopping Day. Support your small businesses. Support things that are local. I know when Professor Scott Galloway was here, he was talking about how we just don't do local things anymore. And really, they need your support. So don't go spend money unnecessarily to support. You don't want them to be a place where you sleep later on. You just want to support local businesses. So whenever possible, do take care of that tomorrow. All right. That's going to do it for me. Doug, man, you got it from here. What should we have learned today? Happy holiday weekend, everybody. See you Monday.
Here's what everybody should have learned today. First, take some advice from Amy and Maggie at ThinkerThemer. You spend good money on entertainment. Don't just pick your next game because the cover looks snazzy. Do a little research, and you can turn a good party into a great one. And money topics? They're far more fun to learn about if you add in a little entertainment value. Second, Don't worry about your latest typo. Monopoly let one ride for like 100 years. But the big lesson? These kids are brutal out here on Black Friday. A band of middle schoolers threatened to slash my tires when I grabbed the last Marvel Avengers action figures set. It's every man for himself. Thanks to Amy and Maggie for hanging out with us today. Check out their YouTube channel, ThinkerThemer, for more information. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2022, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. Our producer is Karen Repine. The show is written by the brilliant Paulette Perhatch, with help from Joe, me, and Doc G from the Earn and Invest podcast. After you listen to our show, check out the 201 Deep Dives, written by our website manager and blog editor, Brooke Miller. You'll find the 411 on all things money at the 201. Just go to stackingbenjamins.com/201. Once we bottle up all this goodness, we ship it to our engineer, the amazing Steve Stewart. Steve helps the rest of our team sound nearly as good as I do right now. Want to chat with friends about the show later? Mom's friend Gertrude is our social media coordinator and the room mother in our Facebook group called The Basement. So, say hello when you see us posting online. Here's a weird fact. Both she and Tina Eichenberg are never in the same room at the same time. To join all the basement fun with other stackers, type stackingbenjamins.com/basement. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show. Not only should you not take advice from these dorks, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor.